some of the best meals and most memorable meals I've ever had have been slower ones. And I remember one time we went out, we were on a family vacation, and we went to a nice place, and my pop said to me, he saw me reaching for bread. He's like, oh, like, he's like, take it easy, slow down. He's like, we got a lot of meals coming, like a lot of different dishes. And he's like, just keep in mind, he's like, this is not just eating, this is dining. And
born in 92 on the block with the Sharks, come from a different cloth, y'all would get ripped apart. You want it diamond, then you gotta get it in the dark. We dropping nuggets like Carmelo went to Rucker Park. Now we eating from state to state, we scrape the plate. I put my eggs in a basket, took a leap of faith. I took a chance, now we grow and see the impact. Decoding success with special guests, now let's bring Matt.
Welcome to the Decoding Success Podcast. Excited to have you tuned into the top 1% globally ranked show. Thanks to each and every one of you that is tuned into this. I want you to open your mind and open your heart, even though I might sound like a parrot or a broken record at this point, because I always say this on every single episode. But there is a reason that you are here. You could be doing anything else in this world right now, but you chose to listen to this podcast, not just this podcast, but this episode. So I want you to open your mind, open your heart to the idea that you are here to receive something. A gem of wisdom, a golden nugget, however you want to phrase it or coin it, whatever that may be. Furthermore, maybe the reason you're here is because you need to share this episode with someone in your life. So I'm going to put that call to action on your heart right here in the beginning of this. What's going on with you guys?
Everything's good. We were just catching up, actually.
I know you guys did your own podcast. So I was like, all right, whatever.
We did. We caught up and we talked about the summer. And had a big event last night. Talked about the mayor. Met the mayor last night. That's cool.
Yeah, we were just talking about that when we got in here.
Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about Greece, which I know,
of course,
I know you'll bring up. But we talked about that and grabbed a little slice. So this way, there's not a third guest on the podcast. Aunt Stomach, aka.
It's gonna rumble at some point. It's inevitable. But yeah, no, it's kind of crazy. Like end of summer, this. I don't know, man. Maybe you guys can agree, maybe disagree, but I just feel like this year has moved particularly faster than than in years past. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's because we're of a certain age. Maybe it's a post-COVID type thing. I don't know. Like maybe after lockdown, time seems to move faster. I don't know, but I can't believe that we're this far into the year. And I'm just like, well, this year like flew by more than past years, just for me. So I can't believe we're like really at the tail end of summer, and is this life from now on? Is how it works? I don't know, but time's moving faster than ever, it seems. I
remember being in elementary school and looking up at the clock, praying for it to get to 2:30, and we used to be dismissed at 2:30 on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. It was 12:30 on Wednesdays, and I remember looking at that fucking clock, and I'm like, yo, it's never gonna get there. Like it would never get to 2:30. And now 2:30 happens like this every single day. And it's like, quick. Yo, what changed? What changed, you know?
Well, I also think when you're stuck somewhere you don't want to be, like school when you're younger, like time just does not move. Yeah. But when you're living life on your terms and doing things that you want to do, right? Yeah. You're dictating your day and your life for the most part. Then time flies. So I remember those days very, very well. Of just like looking at the clock. I'm like, how's it only been 3 minutes? It feels like half hour.
I feel like after I turned 30, that's when like things really started to move fast. And like if they're gonna get faster as time goes on, I'm like, yo, what a fucking wake up call to like really make the most of this shit.
You're not kidding.
You know, like I mean, I'm about to be 32 in a few months, and it's like this is the fastest year of my life. Like legit start to today, like August, whatever we're at, like I don't even know what day it is. Holy shit, like rapid speed.
The responsibilities, they tally up, they compound over time. So it will happen. And then that's a nuance that as part of the journey for us to get better, for us to learn like how to navigate that and make the most of our time. Actually, what you said before, I heard something years ago from Joe Dispenza, actually, my buddy Dispenza. And he talked about, remember how you just said you'd look at the clock and you'd wait and hope it hit 2:30?
Yeah.
I was the same way. But he said, what about the days when you had a class trip and you went to bed and you were so excited that you did not need an alarm clock the next day? So he was tailoring that to the fact that when you're really looking forward to something, you're excited to something, like just intuitively, you will be so drawn to it, and it'll go like that. When something is a drag, yeah, we're sitting there and we're like, oh my God, it's not even lunchtime yet. Like, when's this day gonna end? You know?
Yeah.
It's
so
so
like
true.
that's how life has been for me recently. It's like that internal alarm clock. I mean, some people might say it's the fucking full moon or Mercury in retrograde, whatever the hell, Gatorade, whatever it's called. But like, bro, I have not, like last week, I could not sleep past like 5:36. Like, I feel like I've just been like so excited to wake up and like get after it. Kind of like what you were just saying, you know?
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool I don't think I've ever experienced that in life. In moments, yes, like Christmas, of course. You know, like first day of this or whatever. Like, I've definitely had them in moments. But like to see it happen in weeks,
It's great.
great feeling.
Think about when you were younger too, and you had to go to a family member's house, and the ride was like, let's just call an hour and a half. And you're in the car, and you're like, are we there yet? Dad, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Ain't we there? And he probably, now being at that age, and he probably wants to knock you out. But then on the way home, the ride went so fast. You were asleep in the car. And you're like, how's that the same thing?
Yeah.
You know, that's what we're experiencing.
That's crazy. I've been dabbling with the idea of doing a 12-hour walk. Have you guys heard of that concept?
No.
It's exactly what it says, a 12-hour walk. And it's timely because like I just discovered this like 2 weeks ago. And also 2 weeks ago, we had this gentleman named Tom on the show. And Tom is the 10th person to ever walk around the world.
First with his dog.
Wow.
First person with his dog.
Yep.
Wow.
10th person ever, first with a dog. So his dog was the first to ever do it. And I mean, he walked for 7 years, bro.
Jeez.
Like, think of how much, I believe it's 6 continents. I believe it's over 28,000 miles, which is a lot of, bro, that's a lot. That's a lot. But the whole purpose of the 12-hour walk is to bring you a sense of clarity. So like it's a no technology type of thing. You're actually supposed to do it by yourself, but people do it with people. And I said to him, I'm like, yo, if I'm walking for 12 hours, like how far can I get? You know, like that's a long way. But I've been toying with the idea of that, not for time purpose, but just like for clarity purpose. Yes. And just like this conversation made me think of it. But I think one Saturday or Sunday, I'm just going to like leave my house at 5:30 in the morning and just walk.
I got a cool idea. And if you guys want to do it all together, I'm down. I've always wanted to walk from the tip of Manhattan all the way down
to the bottom.
I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be 12 hours, but maybe with some stops along the way. I'd be down for that.
I don't think that would be 12 hours, right? I think we'd probably get
stops.
Long stops. Long stops.
Long lunches.
Right, long
stops.
Yeah. I would be down for that too. That's a really, I mean, I've drove tip to tip, no Diddy, but I have drove tip to tip, but I have never walked it. So I would be down for that as well. That would be a cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
I did a few of those this summer, actually. But I would say not 12, but about 5, 6. Really by the boardwalks by the beaches, like Rockaway. Okay. Just going from one side of Rockaway, like 90-something street, up to 150th, Reese Park. Mm-hmm. And I even went further than Reese last week. I forgot the name, Fort something. I went all the way down till you can't go no more. You see the army base. Yeah. And then came back. And I'm usually listening to a YouTube video or some sort of a podcast, got the headphones on, but no, it's
so imagine you did that with nothing in the ears and did that for 12 hours.
It's like what they say on flights, you know, the expression raw dogging flights.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the new thing, right? Everyone says that.
Man, I like to get to my destination relaxed
and chill. Yeah,
and chill. Listen, God, maybe it's a 1-hour flight, perhaps. But with this guy that did the walking for 7 years, I don't know if you asked this, but how many steps would that be?
I can't
12 hours
imagine.
of walking.
Oof. So he wasn't. I don't think he was walking for 12 hours a day. From what it sounds like, it was like an 8-hour shift. You know, like you walk for 8 hours. I mean, you're also with a dog, dude. You kind of got to be mindful. Like,
true.
I mean, the dog is an animal and is probably very capable of a lot. But I didn't ask him specifically how long he was walking per day. But just from like what I was reading and like other interviews and stuff, I think it was like an 8-hour type of thing. I'm sure there was a variable, right? Like on certain days, maybe he walked more or less, you know? I can't even imagine the amount of steps you're taking. Like in a 12-hour walk, I talked about this a couple times because like I wouldn't go completely no tech. Like I would not have my phone. Like I would keep my phone on me, but like turn it off or whatever. But like I would want to document that, you know? So like I have my little, you know, toy thing looking. It looks like a dildo. I don't care. But it's a tripod, you know, type of thing. So like I would bring that with me and probably like my Apple Watch, you know, just because.
Also, you might get inspired and be like, listen, I got to video something right now. I just had this profound thought that I have to get out there.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
That's why you're there, right?
Yes, 100%. Like I'm all for documenting it. And then like, really, you guys should like read up on it, like the breakthroughs that people like talk about on Reddit or whatever the case is. I'm like, damn, like they think it's like, you know, a year's worth of therapy in 12 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
Like just by being with yourself.
I've experienced that just on the 5-6 hour walks. Like besides the fact that there's, you know, the sun coming in, you got your shirt off, you get a nice tan.
Yeah.
But the clarity you get and the peace that you get, and you become much more in tune with your surroundings, and you just notice things. You notice smiles. You notice, you know, this is going on. It's not as many distractions. You're really focused.
Yeah.
What do you think about, could you guys handle, I'm sure you could, but would you be interested in doing that, was it 2-week silent retreat?
I don't know if I would be ready for 2 weeks right out of the gate.
That sounds a lot harder than a 12-hour walk.
Yeah. Like, I feel like I would probably start with 1 day.
I don't know if 1 day is going to quite, like, give you the lessons. I think it'll be more like, I survived this, or this was torture. But I don't think it's going to be like, I'm a new man because I did it for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Like, I think you have to reach, I mean, I've never done it, but I imagine you probably have to reach like 5 days at least.
Yeah.
To start really thinking in a different way.
I don't disagree with that. But at this one thing that I'm trying to implement more is like the non-forcing of these like practices upon myself. It's not like I don't want to push myself. I want to do them mindfully, you know? So like what I've done so much shit just because, right? Like without like thinking like, what's my intention for it? Like just doing it. And I'm like, was that beneficial or harmful? You know, like I'm at a point right now where yes, like I would love to do that, but like, what is the incremental work up to it? And maybe some people don't need that, you know, but just from like another side of the coin, like I have really appreciated the slow build into the big splash, you know, like, so instead of cannonballing right away, like, no, take the stairs into the pool, you know, and then I don't know, however else, take the ladder or whatever else you could do to get into the pool. I would definitely do it though, in due time.
He's mindful about it, is what he's saying.
Trying to be.
Essentially, that's what it is. You're being mindful.
Trying to be.
I mean, you'll get to the experience either way, whether it's your way potentially or your way. But
yeah,
my way is not. I've not done any of these, by the way. So my way is not. I've not done any of these.
A silent for 2 weeks is
it's a
no
lot.
joke.
Yeah.
And I forgot one thing as well. When I would go on these 5-6 hour walks, it's actually a great time to connect with people. I love to put on the headphones and just literally get through 10 phone calls of people that I love and just speak to them and just for no reason, just how's your day going? What's going on? And that is powerful too. So I can only imagine the silence.
That's why I'm curious if you did silent walks, like what your difference would be. Like if you did that this weekend, like I would love to know what your difference is, because I could speak from experience. Like sometimes, like if I'm in traffic or if I'm, you know, just like doing something where I know I could multitask and like call someone, sometimes to me, that's also a distraction from what I'm actually feeling. Right. So like, I would be curious to know, like, what are Phil's walks like silent wise, and like what the differences are. Like, I agree. Like it is proactive to like, if you're catching up with friends or whatever it is that you're doing, like, I love that. I would love to know what the inverse is, like the conversation with Phil.
Yeah. So basically it's a walking meditation. So long walking meditation.
Exactly.
And if you breathe mindfully, and I guess I'm thinking too, from the nutrition standpoint, like you gotta get yourself ready to go. I mean, it's 12 hours.
Yeah.
And
well,
depends
you're
on
allowed
what
to stop on it.
Oh, you're allowed to stop?
Yeah,
Okay,
you're allowed to take short breaks.
Okay.
You know, there's like a preparation guide, like he says to bring like 3 liters of water or like whatever else. Like there is a level of preparation. And it does say that you can stop here and there, like grab a quick bite or whatever it may be, but it's just like no tech is like the big thing.
I've seen with me at least that if I go on these walks while I'm fasted, I may have like an electrolyte drink, but that speeds it up much, much faster. There's actually a guy, I don't know him too well, but there's a guy on Instagram, Fasting with Trevor. So he would do these really long fasts. I'm talking 20 days, 30 days, 45 days.
Wow.
And he would try to defy, people would say you can't last this long without food. And so he would go much further. You can't last this long without water. He would go much further. He would, from when you see him to when he hits day 30 with the fast, completely different person. He's shriveled. He doesn't move because he's just trying to conserve energy. But the reason he does it from more of a faith perspective too. He is seeing how close, when you get really close to death, basically, you start tapping into different parts of your brain. And from what he shared, seeing different instances of how God works in your life, that to me is remarkable. Like, it's cool to say, hey man, you can't last 7 days without food, so I just showed you can do 20. But what did you learn from those moments where, like, when your body wants water, your body wants food, and it's like, yo, feed me, give me water, but you're there and you're just like nice and chill, you're defying it. Like, what is your mind thinking at that point? Because it's survival mode. So I think that's fascinating. And I started thinking that when you were saying that, because I'm wondering how you can tie in fasting with a walk like that to kind of get even a bigger effect.
Yeah. It's crazy to hear that he like pushes himself, not that he's trying to die, but like that he pushes himself to access like what your body does on the brink or near death.
Yeah.
And just like even hearing that when, I used to listen to Mike Tyson's podcast a lot, and he talks about from a spiritual perspective, like whatever drug he would take, or maybe it's not right to call it a drug, but a substance that he would take, the toad, right? And he would talk about the toad and how that killed his ego because he saw his death. Like he saw himself die on it. And just like the way that he talks about is crazy. Even Dan Millman from The Peaceful Warrior, he has a whole meditation about meditating on your death.
Oh.
And I was like, I listened to it.
Toad?
With no toad. With no toad. And when I listened to it the night before I came in here to interview him, and I'm like, we should do that more often.
This kid experiences, in his words, he experienced ecstasy. Right as your body thinks you're about to die or on the brink of dying, you get crazy insights, probably, I can't speak to it personally, probably flashbacks of your life. But then also what's fascinating is I would see on his post the look, the emotion when he had his first drink or his first meal after, and like you enjoy it like so much. It's like, it's so nourishing to the body. Imagine you just went 30 days without nothing.
Yeah.
And I remember he had just lemon juice, just straight up squeezed lemon. And he's like, wow, like this is gold,
That reminds you of the show Survivor. If you'd won this contest, I didn't really watch it much. I've seen a few episodes back in the day. And they had this big contest. And if the person won, they got 2 things. They got a meal, like a freshly cooked meal and prepared by a chef, and a shower.
Ooh.
And they're like, I did not want to leave that shower. It was the best thing I've ever experienced. It was pure bliss, pure ecstasy. And then when they were eating, you'd almost think they'd go like savage mode and just start eating nonstop. They were actually eating pretty slow considering you're living off like berries and nuts and whatever else the island produced.
Yeah.
It's just, I think when you get to a certain point, like, and you slow down and you reach for that food, you're like savoring it, you're enjoying it. And I think it almost forces you to live more presently, as opposed to how you would think of a starving person. So if you're starving for X amount of time, I guess you see food and you'd grab it, right? Like, I know if I don't eat for X amount of hours, you guys have seen me.
Crazy.
I'll go crazy. But maybe the longer you've been I don't want to say starved, but the longer you've been without what you think you need, you almost kind of grow to live without it. And that way, now that is being brought to you, you go about it almost instead of like reactively, you're now just like savoring the moment of just reaching for it, having in your hands the texture, the bite, like the chew, like everything becomes more of like almost like a religious experience.
Yeah.
By depriving your senses of not having it for X amount of time.
I remember Phil and I were at Patrizia's in Brooklyn, and this was years ago before Ed Milet is who Ed Milet is today. And Phil was trying to, elaborate on like mindful eating.
Oh, he does that all the time.
What a fucking place to talk about mindful eating. Like there's money bags and like all of these things being brought to the table. And it just always like, I still remember that moment. Like it's a moment that I remember. And you want to know what? I still don't mindfully eat. Like I literally had someone as recent as yesterday say to me, 2 days ago, they're like, you ate that really fucking fast.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I still don't do it.
I remember the conversation, and I remember Ed saying it, like, when you got that piece of steak in front of you and you cut it, and we're just throwing stuff in our mouth. We're just doing it like a job. Like, how fast can it go? But you cut it, and you're enjoying it, and you're grateful for it. It's what you just tuned into when you said that. Like, when you're taking that time, and then you finally eat it, or you drink whatever you're drinking, you're more mindful. It's a reset. Your conditioning kind of goes a little bit out the window. You're more grateful. But then you take that piece of that steak and you chew it and you're like, wow, this is fucking amazing. And Patricia might have been a better example, but still you learn. And I did that same logic with water, actually. How many times do we wake up in the morning and we just guzzle water and we're just like, go quick, let's go. But actually like cold water in your glass and, oh, wow, I'm grateful for this water. I'm grateful for it. This morning I had espresso and it's like, I'm grateful for this espresso.
I chug every drink I have.
Ooh.
Every drink I have, I chug. I cannot sip a drink. Or I can, I just, make the deliberate choice, not like just whatever's regular.
It's what's wired in you from just years of conditioning. So, no, I mean, I think we're all like that. I didn't come out the womb, acting this, but I seen it and it was enough to spark like, all right, maybe I got to look at this a little bit different.
Yeah. It does infuriate me slightly when you're at dinner with like a very slow eater.
Do we know any?
Yeah, that's me.
I know slower than Phil, bro.
Slowest eater in the game is Phil.
Bro, but at the same time, it's also like the wake up call, right? Like it's the awareness that being at dinner with a slow eater like gives you, and it's like, damn, I eat really fucking fast. What I have been doing recently to be more mindful, I'm not cutting it into smaller pieces or anything like that. Bro, I literally put down the fork and knife. Like I'll take a few bites and then I'll put down my fork and knife. It does work because obviously I'm not going to start eating with my fucking hands, but that's like been my cue to slow down just a little bit. But then when the fork and knife are back in my hand, I'm fucking shoveling. I'm just shoveling and shoveling and shoveling. But it's something I want to be better at because, I mean, you do it every day.
For me, the biggest reason why I eat slow, besides health or any of that, is the experience. Like, I could cook the same meal at home and no ego involved. Like, I'm a pretty damn good chef. So, like, I could cook that meal and it'll probably be just as good, maybe sometimes better. So if I go out to a place and I'm spending X amount of money, like, I want to enjoy the experience. I'm not saying I want to stay the whole day. I want to milk it like I'm working at a Starbucks and, but I want to enjoy it. I want to take time with my app. I want to take time. I want to have the conversation and make it an experience, especially, let's say this guy was just in Greece, so I didn't see him for a while. So let's say we went out to dinner together. Like, I wouldn't want that to go fast because I'd want to enjoy the moment with you guys.
I like that.
Yeah, I think some of the best meals and most memorable meals I've ever had have been slower ones.
Yeah.
I can think back. I've always, like you said, I've always been a very fast eater to a fault. And I remember one time we went out, we were on a family vacation and we went to a nice place and my pop said to me, he saw me reaching for bread. He's like, take it easy, slow down. He's like, we got a lot of meals coming, like a lot of different dishes. And he's like, just keep in mind, he's like, this is not just eating, this is dining. And I like that expression. It just stuck with me. I'm like, oh, this is dining. And if you can get yourself into the habit of dining more as opposed to just like eating, you'll look at the meal differently. You know, you'll breathe in between. You'll have a sip of whatever you're having, water or wine, whatever it may be. Enjoy that sip. It's just like, it's almost like I'm at a race for no reason against myself. I don't know until I feel full. And there is something to be said too. The Japanese believe in eating until you're 80% full.
Yes.
As opposed to like 120% full. Like
yes.
I typically, that's my cue to stop. But there is something to be said there. And talking about memorable meals, I think like you were talking like a good catch-up conversation. Like this summer, you know, having been away, there was a lot of moving around, a lot of hopping around, and hands down, the best dinner I had was at a little taverna when the restaurant was kind of closing, but they're like, we'll stay open as long as you guys want. We're just hanging out here. We live right here. It's no big deal. We felt no pressure to move quick and just took our time with everything. Time kind of froze. And I was like, this is the best meal I had, I don't know, probably all year.
Yeah.
But just because it was dining as opposed to just eating. So
that's a gem.
Yeah, I have to get into the habit of remembering that.
That is wisdom right there. That is an I literally wrote that down just now. Like, I'm gonna, we're gonna have to get your dad on here, and we might. I love that, man. I love that, and it's like that is essentially what you are paying for when you go out to eat, right? I mean, I hear that, and then the whole Japanese thing, like eat till you're 80% full. So I did that for the whole month of August. Don't get me wrong. Like I definitely had a few days where like I treated myself. From the start of August to today, I lost 10 pounds doing that. Wow. I did want to lose weight, but like I really was mindful of that. And don't get me wrong. Like I definitely had days where like I went 15 days without pizza, had pizza, you know, like enjoyed it, still like lived in I mean, people might not say that's balanced, but you know, still treated myself at times, but it is such a condition to break. As recent as this morning, I woke up, I'm like, damn, I'm so hungry. Like I just felt so hungry. But why? Like what I don't think I was actually hungry. It's just like
you were bored.
Yeah, like whatever it was, you know?
I heard this a while back that how you know if you're actually hungry is I will put the driest piece of grilled chicken in front of you and you will eat it like it's your last meal. That's when you're hungry. But in America, and especially in America, but all over the world, we eat because we're bored.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we eat too because we're actually thirsty. Like you ever put your hand in a bag of potato chips and you can eat the whole bag and you're like, well, I'm a savage. Like, how did I just eat the whole thing without?
Yeah.
You weren't actually hungry. You were thirsty. But that food provided there's no water in a bag of potato chips. So you just kept eating because your body's like, when are you going to give me water, bro? Yeah. But you never got there. So you just ate the whole thing. So, boredom, but definitely being mindful with that as well is huge. And to what you were just saying, like, it wasn't just the food that you ate that made you feel great when you were in Greece. It was the people, the experience. It was the fact that you felt like you were the guest of honor. Hospitality that's why it's beautiful.
Right.
Like they were there for you. They didn't say, oh, it's 8:50. You got to get out because we close at 9. Like they were like, no.
People do that too.
They do that.
People do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they said, sit down, enjoy. And you guys just felt amazing.
It comes back full circle to everything I think we talk about in the show. I think almost everything comes back to this. Just, we felt present. That's what it was. We just felt very present in that moment. We were there. And that's what it came down to. And the times that you can force yourself, that's why we say, hey, do this meditation, do these walks with no technology, do the, silent retreats, all those things is for one goal in mind, just to be present. And even though that's like the key to life, it's so easy to forget it. But that's ultimately what it comes down to, is just trying to get in the now.
Yeah. I literally said to myself on the way here, I was like, I can't wait to start recording because I know that it's going to ground me.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is not for nothing. It's really hard not to be present when you do this.
Right.
Especially like this is obviously like super chill. There's 3 of us. We're going back and forth. Like any which one of us can talk at any given moment. But like when you're hosting someone one-on-one, you actually can't not be present because you will fuck up.
You can't take questions off.
Like, you know, it's just like, wait, like, whoa, what did you just say? Like, and don't get me wrong, like, you're going to have a brain fart here and there as a host, but like, I knew on the way here, and it's not to say that I was like rattled or not present or whatever, but like, I just knew that this would be my anchor for the moment. Like, and it's pretty cool to have that anchor be something you love to do. Like, this is the first time I'm even thinking about it, you know? And I was just like, oh, as you just said that, it kind of dawned on me, like, this is my anchor for the day, which is awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. I love that.
And also another thing people should know too, being on a podcast, one thing as a guest, but as a host, how exhausting it is because you're giving your all. Like you're not taking plays off.
Yeah.
And people don't realize, like, oh, after a podcast, like you feel spent a lot of times.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like you're doing it with effort and care, and you know you're running the show here, so it's more effort than people understand.
I said that to my therapist yesterday when I met with her. I was like, you know what? It's a fucking performance.
Yeah.
Like, it is. And the thing is, like, it's a performance, but you are not just the performer. You're also the spotlight operator, because as a podcast host, the spotlight is never on you. Right. The spotlight is always number one on your audience, number two on your guest.
Right.
So it's like, I never was in film or theater or any of this shit, so forgive me if you are and I don't get my fucking terms right. But like, you play numerous parts. Like, you're in the actual play itself, but you're also doing the directing, the producing, like all of the other shit, which as an experienced host, like over the course of time, it doesn't really feel like anything. But now that we're talking about it, I'm like, whoa, like it actually is a lot. So that's the part that takes the energy. Like all of that, like 100% takes the energy.
Well, that's leading. And I was taught at a young age by a mentor of mine. He said a good leader shines the light on others to put them in the best light possible. But when things don't go so good, they solely put the spotlight on themselves, right? Because they know that it ends and begins with them. But even though you're going to receive the credit for being, oh, it's a great show, you're really giving the credit to your audience, to the guests. And that's what being a good leader in anything is, right? Whether it's sports, business, podcasting, is knowing where to direct that light.
I had a call with a client yesterday. She's a former Air Force jump master. And it just means a lot to me, number one, that she served our country. But like, number two, it's super sentimental because my grandfather was in the Air Force. And she was telling me a time where she was about to lead a training. So apparently, I might be getting this wrong, but apparently when you are, becoming a jump master, you jump out of the plane like relatively quickly and with no assistance. So like you do ground training and then you're just like up in the air and like, you got to just do it. And, she did all that successfully and, had her bumps in the road, but then it was her time to like teach or lead or something of the sort. And, she had her students. And as she was getting ready to lead, she just realized, she was like, I was so nervous. I was so this, I was so that. And then she saw her students and saw how nervous they were. And that was her cue to realize that this wasn't about her. It was about them.
Yeah.
And the minute she like turned the spotlight from her to them, all of her jitters, all of her anxiety, all of her nerves, all of like the feeling she was feeling subsided.
And it reminds her of what she went through in the past, because she remembered in that moment what her first experience was like when it was her first time. So now you forget you've been up there 10 times, 100 times. Now it's their first time. Same thing as the podcast. You take it for granted now, or you just don't think about it because you've done X amount of shows, over 300. But what you remember back that first time, and you remember maybe even you had a guest on the show. Maybe it was us that also, just like you were, am I going to say the right thing? Am I nervous? Am I not? So like we all experience it. That's the power of the repetitions. And then you realize like you've arrived because you're no longer just the student. Now it's bigger about you. Now it's working through you. So life's remarkable in that
That was a huge concept we talked about with the guy Tom who walked around the world. He was like, one of the biggest parts of that episode was just realizing how small you actually are.
Mm.
And it's not to say it in a demeaning way, right? Because like no one wants to feel like they're small, but at the same time, no one is the center of the universe, and so many of us can embody that. I've been there, right? And I'm sure I still have moments where I feel like I'm the center of the universe, and that's just not the case or true.
It's like you're everything and yet you're nothing. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird.
Nailed it.
Yeah, it's the best way I can describe it.
You nailed it, right? Like you are everything. Everyone is everything. But at the same time, to the world, we're nothing. Mm. And when we can embrace that, and again, really know the meaning of that, right? Because it's not to say that like you're worthless or anything of that sort, but it's like the world is so fucking big. And we can make an impact in it and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, he walked away and he was like, Matt, you want to know what? Eventually I'm going to be forgotten. I found that really interesting. He said that because it's the 10th fucking person to walk around the world. I literally said to him, like, what do you mean you're going to be forgotten? Like your TED Talk will live on, your book will live on, like all these things. He's like, I'll be forgotten one day. That's pretty sick to hear.
Don't you ever get that feeling like if you go to a cemetery, I'm like, these people live this life, and I'm like, I wonder if anyone's ever visited them in the last year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Have they been forgotten? But at the end of the day, like we talk about legacy and, you know, passing it on to the next generation for sure. But that's how it goes, man. And even when there's somebody that is beloved and they pass away, I think even celebrities, like you feel it in the immediacy, and then 2 weeks go by and you probably forgot about it, which sucks. And you think they're like immortal and they'll live forever, but people move on.
This is the second time you were talking and I had deja vu.
Yeah. Well, we have been here before.
I know we have been in the podcast studio before.
Yeah.
Whoa, that is so. I wrote it down before. I wrote deja vu, but I
Did
just,
you really?
Yeah, I just skipped over it. But
what came through for you?
I feel like has your grandfather ever said anything to you about cemeteries?
Well, the cemetery I was just referring to was in my head was the one when I visited my grandfather's gravesite this summer in Chios. So that's literally what I was just thinking of.
Am I powerful?
Everything and
the
nothing.
way you just did that.
No, because I literally sat here, and as I heard you say that, I felt like I have heard you speak about a quote that your grandfather said about cemeteries.
No.
Okay,
that's
well,
wild. That's what I was referring. But that's the example I had in my head.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, it's weird. All right, well, someone said something recently about like maybe it was in a movie. I don't know, but
listen,
let's erase that. Did your grandfather say something to you about cemeteries?
No.
Come on, you're supposed to say yeah.
Oh yeah, this is take two.
Take two.
He certainly did.
Yeah, I'm only kidding. That's so weird, man. Deja vu is such a fucking weird thing, and I have it like
you get it a lot.
Too often. Too often to not make me think I could jump off the top of the building and fly.
You hit me when you just said that. I was thinking about when the guy said that you'll be forgotten, and it's like that you're everything and nothing at the same time. It's partially just ego. Like as I'm learning, as I'm maturing, it's not me, Phil Massier, that wants to be remembered. I want to be remembered in the people that I impacted, because they will continue to go on. That's obviously, or the individuals, that they're the legacy. 500 years from now, I mean, let's be real, no one's saying my name, but they'll say the name of the generation.
I also think that I just want to cut you off.
Sure.
People still say fucking George Washington.
Is it possible?
People still reference. I just read a book on the history of Greece. This is top of mind for me right now.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, and it's not to say that I disagree with Tom, but at the same time, it's like people are going to talk about Elon Musk in 500 years, 100%. Like, they can't not talk about him, or at least, I don't know, maybe people are still talking about Tesla now, right? I mean,
right.
Like there's so many different people that are being talked about.
No, you're right. You're 100% right with what you said. I agree, actually. That might have been me playing small, but I think where I was coming from with it is that that's not my sole purpose for living. You know, it's
you're not doing it for the recognition. Is what you're saying.
It's for the ripple effects that then tie back to me. And guess what? If they say my name, cool. I must have done something pretty remarkable.
And you won't be here for it anyway, right?
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
I never really got that thing. Gary Vee would be like, I do this because I want to know how many people will show up to my funeral. I never really resonated with that one. I know we've discussed on the show many, many years ago, but like,
oh, I don't even remember what he said. What did he say?
Basically, he lives a life because he wants his funeral to be packed when he passes away. And he wants it to be like this event where people funnel in and it's so packed and there's this gigantic line. And I guess I suppose I understand where he's coming from, but you'll also be dead. So you won't experience that anyways. So I just never understood that. Yeah,
I guess I mean, I don't know what he was meaning in that particular sense, but I'm assuming it just means, hey, like I made such a big impact, so many people want to show up.
Right.
You know? And hey, he is, right?
Yep,
so good for him.
Yeah.
I remember just a bit of that. I think he was trying to relate to, I want to be successful, but do it while being a nice guy. So he was relating, he relates to Steve Jobs a lot, and he says that he did so much, such a great impact on our lives, but he was known. I didn't know the guy personally, but at least from what I read, he wasn't the greatest person to be around. You know, he flew off the handle constantly.
Well, yeah, I mean, in the movie, right? I mean, they showed that in the movie.
Did you read the book?
It's too big for me.
It's such a great book. And what he said to Walter Isaacson, he goes, don't portray me in a different light. Portray me as you see me. You have full autonomy to do that.
Okay, I like that.
Which
I like that.
Awesome. And
I like that.
Went to town on it. He's like, yeah, he's not a warm and fuzzy guy. If you knew him, you probably wouldn't like him.
Yeah.
Most people do not like him, but damn, the man's a genius and he has a certain way about him and it works. That's okay. Not everyone has to be beloved.
Yeah.
You know, but for him, you know what, that goes back to that old, I think we're going to all have the same answer. I'm about to ask you guys. That old Bronx Tale quote, would you rather be feared or loved? Right? In his case, feared.
Yeah.
Right? Because he didn't care who liked him. He's like, I have a job. It has to get done. You're either in and you're out. And no excuses. He would fire people drop of a hat if you didn't deliver or get lost. That's how it was.
Yeah.
When you want to be loved, you might give a little bit more leeway. You might be more forgiving. You probably will be more forgiving because you want to be loved. And there's almost, depends on what hat you have on, but there's almost an inefficiency to having that I want to be loved mindset, as opposed to, no, I'd rather be feared and get things done. It's all about execution. And you could say, hey, you could turn it on and off, but can you? Because we always say how you do one thing is how you do everything. So I guess I'll ask it to you guys. Where do you stand on that?
In regards to being feared or loved? I mean, I want to say loved. Like, at the same time, I'm trying to understand why I want to say that, though. I'm trying not to say it for the reason of the desire of being liked.
Right.
Because, like, he did not care if he was liked or not. It was just like, hey, this is the mission and I'm going forward.
And you can say Elon the same thing, right? He's very controversial. He is. I don't think he cares so much about being loved. Not, and again, doesn't mean he wants no love, but I think he would go on the side of rather be feared. Is that a common characteristic amongst very successful people, the people that we look up to, generally speaking?
I'm not sure. I mean, I really haven't, I've never thought about this.
Yeah, I can't tell you. I can't tell you my answer is fully thought out right now. I know that I definitely want to be loved. More so, I want to be respected, because I think when you're respected, it comes with love. And I think when you ultimately love someone, you also respect them, but you also fear them to a certain degree, because if you really, really love someone, why would you want to hurt them? So there's a healthy fear, not a fear of like, I'm going to hit you if you don't do this. It's like a healthy fear. It's like a God, like relating it back to faith. It's a God-fearing fear. I used to hear that when I was younger. I never really understood that. Like, what does that mean? People fear God. Like, this doesn't sit well with me. But now,
Interesting.
Now because people say that all the time. The church says it all the time. But now I understand. It's not that you fear God, like he's going to whip you. is that you have so much love for him. You have so much love for, Jesus. You have so much love for everything he embodied that why would I ever want to do anything to hurt that?
And that's called God fearing and not God loving. Isn't that kind of interesting? I never connected that.
Yeah. That's why these podcasts are awesome because, right? They say 1 + 1 = 3 in terms of brain power. I mean, this is why I love these conversations.
So Patrick Bet-David, and I think you added in that aspect. So I don't recall Patrick Bet-David talks about this all the time.
This topic
of feared or loved. But he has a third one, and I think it is respected. Did you guys ever hear him speak about that?
No.
I kind of want to look it up real quick, but he talks about that often. He's like, you could actually have all three.
Yeah, I believe that.
Well, I'm not even going to say this about a person. Let's just say it's a job that you love, right? Let's just say you have a job, and it's your career, and you love this job. You also fear losing the job, so it'll help you to perform, but you also respect the title and the organization. So that's all three right there.
Mm-hmm.
I think ultimately anything that's you're drawn to, that you're willingly putting yourself in a place where you're either investing time or emotions into, you have to have all three because they all kind of interconnect.
My only hesitation is can fear coexist with respect?
I think a healthy fear. I think that's that's the main thing. Like,
wait till Dad gets home.
I'll think,
like, oh shit.
Exactly. Yeah. Think about it with my dad. Love him, respect him, but fear him as well.
Yeah.
Because I love him so much that why would I not want to instill his teachings? Because that's the healthy fear in me that wants to live that out. So I think a healthy fear. I think when it's a fear of like, do this or else I'm gonna pop you, like that's different. That's cruel. That's cruelty. But a healthy fear, I think, stems from love and respect.
I'm struggling with that one. I have to think about that.
It just came to me.
And that's the beauty of life.
No. I think it's great. I think it's like really, really like eye-opening. Because personally, I don't think. Well, I mean, obviously, I can't speak for the people in my life, right? But like, I'm looking at you, like, I don't want you guys to fear me, like. So I don't know, maybe it's a relational thing. Like, it depends on the relation.
Well, let me tell you this. I know you're saying you don't want us to fear you. You want us to respect you, love you.
Yes, I do.
Darth Vader. Darth. But I can tell you as a friend and someone we've grown really close, like, I wouldn't, and I don't mean this to like the soft comment, but I wouldn't want to hurt someone that I love. So what I fear is basically not loving someone the right way, not respecting the right way, making them less than. Like, why, if you truly love someone, why would you ever want to do that?
So to me, that just is love, though.
Yeah. It's love. I guess you could say healthy fear is love.
Healthy fear is love. That's what, like, that particular, like, that thought track, like, you're saying, like, I would never want to hurt someone I love. That's just love to me.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, I understand that you fear hurting them, but to me, that is love.
Yep. And you will go off the bandwagon sometimes. You will go a little left or right of the path, but it doesn't mean you don't love them. It just means, okay, now I bring it back to the center.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you ultimately, like, you fear them, it's like, okay, I have to do this because if I don't, this cruelty is going to happen, and that's a sucky way to live.
Let's go rapid fire. Which one has to come first, fear, love, or respect?
Oh, rapid fire. Am I first or you? Rapid fire, okay.
Single
you
answer.
Want me to go in order?
Which one? Yeah.
Sure. Love, respect, fear.
Love, respect, fear. Interesting.
I'm going to say respect, love, fear. That answer may change in the future.
Had to be different.
That answer may change in the future, but at least that's how I feel right now.
I Yeah, I mean, if I was cheating on a test, I would go with either of those two. Yeah. Like, if you guys were sitting next to me, I would be like, they both look good.
We just talked about this in Starbucks. Like, there's a talk track out there of people that have to be right in everything they say. And we were just talking about this, and I was like, we were talking about something, and I just told them, like, I actually don't know, and I'm at peace with that. Like, that answer I just gave you, honestly, I don't know. Maybe if I sit with it, maybe it changes slightly, but I'm at peace with it.
Well, can you love someone before you respect them? That's the question.
Yeah, because respect is earned.
So is love.
So is love. But you can love somebody. You can fall in love with a woman and then
not respect her.
Respect her to a degree, but like also like as you get to know her more and the woman that she is, you're like, oh, I really respect her as who she is as a woman. But prior to, you love, you want to love because you want to. You're accepting somebody with arms wide open, not to quote Creed, but but truly, you got your eyes wide open and just like you paint them in a certain
Sing
light
that for us.
Yeah, no, it will be terrible. But like you portray them in a certain, like you basically paint them how you want them to appear in your mind, right?
That's valid.
So you love them and they may or may not meet those expectations. Maybe they'll surpass it. Maybe they'll fall short. But somewhere in between those parameters is still love. And the respect comes later saying, wow, she's who I thought she was and even more. And I respect that. Or, she's different than I initially anticipated, but I love her for the woman that she is. Or maybe you don't. Right?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. The inverse could also be true,
correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you could fall in love with someone, whoever it is, and actually lose respect for them over the course of getting to know them, yet still love them.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you on that. So that's why my order kind of came that way.
Yeah.
And then it's funny that we all put fear as our last, and then just going back to the
which is so
high performers.
Interesting.
Well, right. Well, so the examples we gave was Steve Jobs, Elon Musk. Then you got to think Jordan, Kobe. I don't know about LeBron, but maybe. But like some of these people, maybe LeBron wants to be loved, but like these guys are the killers that you write books about, like I'm sure like a George Washington or whoever, right? All these guys, for the most part, would say fear because they have a job to do, but then not to get into religion, but I guess we're here now. You could say maybe what made Jesus different was that he led with love as opposed to everyone else that we know as a leader, for the most part, that leads with fear.
But also, let's differentiate professional life from personal life. Like Jordan didn't wake up and say, I want to be feared by everyone in my life.
He might have, bro. If you watch that documentary, he definitely said that.
I think Jordan's route, I just wrote it down. I believe his route was fear, respect, love.
I just personally wouldn't want to live that way.
He was an absolute killer. People feared him, which made them have to respect him. Mm-hmm. You could not respect his game. But then he became so great that it's like, you got to fucking love the guy.
Right.
Everyone
loves greatness.
Everyone loves greatness, right? Everyone loves that. So like, I can't speak on Steve Jobs because I haven't read the Isaacson book, or I've watched the movies, but like, to me, that was Jordan's route.
But just remember, we're talking about now sports versus life. So like, I actually understand that in sports, like, you want to be the killer, you want to be this, you want to be that, but I'm sure at home, he doesn't want to be feared by his wife, feared by his kids. I'm going to kill him. Like, if you don't throw out your plate at dinner, kid, go run laps.
Different environments.
Different environments. So I guess in terms of like sports, in terms of just high performance, yeah, absolutely. I totally see that. But for instance, like when Steve Jobs is creating some new technology, I can see that. But when he's at at dinner and he's speaking with an intern, he doesn't want the intern to be shaken, going nuts. Yeah. Like, he wants to be respected or loved. I heard this analogy also when you were saying it before. It's interesting. I can't say I agree with it, but think about the respect and love thing. Think about like Thanksgiving dinner. Sometimes you don't want to sit with the people that you're sitting with. You may love your uncle, but you may not respect him. Might be a piece of shit. Might be a dumbass. He might be a womanizer. He might be really bad with drugs, really bad with alcohol, whatever reason. But I'm not. This is something that I'm just thinking of now. Like maybe I'm not saying you love him, but you were told you have to love him to be there. You were told by other people. So it's interesting. It's interesting. All these. It's definitely situational. I don't think it's a one-track mind. It's situational.
Now that you mention like personal life, sport, like I see how situational it is, right? Because I think Kobe's the same way. Like Kobe is actually someone that I watched play. Jordan, what did I really see him like on the Wizards? Like I didn't see him in 95, 96. I was fucking 2. But like Kobe, the same thing. Like on the court, like fear, respect, love. But at home, I mean, yes, like whatever happened to Kobe, family wise, but I mean, his wife fucking loves him. The kids love him, like it's not that way in the home. On the court, I mean, different story. Like your nickname's fucking Black Mamba, like you're venomous. Like people fear you, which lead them to respect you. I mean, fuck, I can't play basketball if I'm not wearing a pair of Kobe's. I have to wear a pair of Kobe's.
Is that right?
Swear to God.
What's your Nike Kobe's or the Adidas Kobe's?
Great question. I'm fucking hype you knew that. That's great. Wow. The Adidas Kobe's are awesome. Those came out when I was in 6th grade. I remember, and I did not have them. I was so upset, but they looked like you're wearing a tissue box on your feet.
Yeah, it's exactly. Those were the Kobe 2s, if I'm not mistaken. That's exactly what it looked like.
They looked like a tissue box on the feet. So no, I wear the Nike ones. I wear the Nike ones.
Side thing, is that where the dog's name came from? Was it different?
Yeah, my mom's dog name is Kobe because Kobe's black and white. Mixed dog. Kobe's mixed. That's where his name came from. Like, that's facts. That's facts.
I heard him say once, Kobe, in an interview, that how he was able to flip from that guy at home and flip to the killer instinct on the court is he created an alter ego in his mind. It was a different identity.
That's scary to me because Bo Jackson also did that.
Many top performers do that. It's like, when I hit the court, I am this person. And I get it because it's almost like it's Halloween. You're putting on the costume. It's like, I'm here to kill. I'm not here to make friends.
What scares me about, I actually talked to an actor or an actress about this, and I was like, how do you get out of the character? Like, how do you, so for example, what is stopping someone? So if you don't do like the inner work or any of that stuff, but fall so in love with what the character gets, it could be really hard to like stay or to get out of character when you're like really digging the appreciation or the recognition or the love or the fear that you might be getting. And like, that's what scares me about that. It's like, how do you get out of it? How do you not like get so caught up or attached to whatever the character is actually receiving?
Well, many actors have done that and
didn't get
never
out.
been the same. I mean, do you ever watch Man on the Moon's the movie? But Jim Carrey basically was about Andy Kaufman, an actor that was on a show, and I think it was like the 60s or something called Taxi. And he plays this comedian, Andy Kaufman, but for as long as the shoot was, which I believe was over a year, he was not Jim, he was Andy. And you couldn't be like, hey, Jim. He wouldn't turn his head. He would be like, hey, Andy. And he was stuck in this role, and I don't want to say he lost his mind, because who am I to say that? But the people that know him were just like, he was never the same dude. I actually think later in life he became enlightened, and I really think people kind of view him as crazy now, they'll say, but I happen to disagree. I actually think he's been through so much shit that he's seen Hollywood for what it is, and he's had like this great awakening later in his career. But at that time, I can see being a friend of his and being like, yo, I'm kind of concerned about you. Yeah. Like, you're not you. And because he wasn't.
Well, who's the one that played the Joker and ended up like...
I was going to give that example too.
It was Heath Ledger, right? Yeah. And what happened? He was just in like such a dark character that like he couldn't shake it and committed suicide or something?
Yep. He embodied it. And I'm thinking of something right now as it relates to my life, but also probably the listener's life, is I had a talk actually with my therapist, life coach, and had a talk with her, and I had asked her. I said, "You've been doing this for 30 years now. How do you not let?" 'Cause she hears some deep, deep shit, some dark shit, not just surface level. How do you not let it sink in you? You know, how do you have that ability to not let it, marinate inside you? And long story short, it's a skill. And she told me, Phil, it's very hard, but I don't take my work home with me. And so I think the alter ego thing is a skill. It's a skill to be able to switch on and switch off. Straight up, is it easy? No, I don't think so. But I think in the case of the therapist, after a while, you begin to build that resiliency, and through repetition, you're able to know, okay, when I can hear something and look at it, just logically and non-emotionally, and then when I hear something and it stays in me because it's just really affecting me.
I would argue that they probably do take still some of their work home with them, even if it's maybe we used to be like 70%, maybe it's down to like 5%, 2%, but it's the majority of your day is spent at work. I find that very hard to believe that they can't bring some of that home with them. I think it's reduced drastically, but the majority of your day is doing that. It's a part of you.
I think Bo Jackson's alter ego is called Jason Voorhees. I just looked it up, but like he actually had a name for it.
Okay.
But yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like, how do you not take Jason Voorhees home? And if that's not Jason Voorhees, if you're actually a person, you're getting a huge shout out right now. Yeah. But when Bo Jackson became Jason Voorhees, it's called the alter ego effect. But like, how do you not take whatever character home, or I don't know.
Well, I'm thinking through one interview that I saw that it's also environmental. It's based upon your environment. So when he touches, let's say, the field, that's when the alter ego takes effect.
That's when it turns on.
That's when it turns on. But as soon as he leaves the stadium, it's not there anymore. But that's not exactly so easy in every facet of life, especially just with that therapist example, like the working from home and working virtually. And it's not necessarily like I'm walking into an arena to do my work and I'm walking into this. But now that I'm thinking about it out loud, if you see people in your practice and they're sitting in a setting like we're sitting right now, maybe that's when that part of you comes out, because you realize, I sit down, this is this version of me. I walk out, this is this version of me.
Bruce Wayne has a little bit of Batman in him, and Batman has a little bit of Bruce Wayne in him.
Great reference. Yes. Great reference.
It's true. That's, even though they're separate, they're the same, and it dictates and guides some of the decisions, his moral compass, all that stuff, because they are one and the same. Even though they're different, it's that Venn diagram.
Yeah. That is a really, really good reference. I'm so glad you brought up the fear, love, and respect thing.
Oh, yeah.
that was really, really nice. I do have to go home, and I really need to think about that. I want to go deeper on those Patrick Bet-David videos I'll send them to you guys too after this. I want to go deeper on that. I know, like, especially because Patrick operates in such a political realm now. So like he talks about it like for each political character, well, sorry, not character, people, right? They're people, they're not characters.
But they're also characters. They play the role of characters too.
Yes, in America.
We know what you meant.
In America, they are characters. Thank you for serving our country though. And I wanna go deeper on that. Maybe it's a whole episode.
Cool.
I think it's very nuanced. It's depending on, like you said, what a professional, personal, what aspect of life we're talking about, with your kids, with your significant other, with work, with leading a country, with leading men into battle. Like it's so nuanced. And that's one of the interesting things about it is I think people could probably make a fight for almost anything and it can sound pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things where it's like, it's not just black and white.
Yeah. What's going on with your podcast, bro?
Oh, thanks for asking. yeah, so we started shooting and took a little, we want to, based off the guidance of the OG over here, Matt Labrie. Seriously, we had a sit down session, me and my buddy George. Matt was cool enough to meet up with us and give us some pointers, and we've been following suit. That's kind of been our blueprint, to be honest.
Yeah.
So we've recorded 3 episodes. We want to get to at least 8 before we release, probably have a little party. But yeah, we're just, what I'm looking forward to, because I knew we were going on vacation this summer. I'm all about like consistency, and once we're down to like a weekly schedule where we can make this happen, I'll feel like we're making strides. But we're getting to a place where we can do a weekly show. I'm like super pumped to start it up. Yeah, thanks, dude.
It, man. What do you have going on? It's the end of summer, bro. Yeah, it's like it's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
summer's over. It's like I literally thought about 4 more months. 2024 is done in 4 fucking months.
This past summer, a big emphasis for me was to really meet with every single individual corner of my family, and to really have experiences together where we have fun. There's some newness. There's love. There's memories. Talked with Ann about this in Starbucks prior to this podcast. Like, my parents and I and my brother, we went on a trip to Italy in 2008. And I didn't know what I know now about cloud backup and storage and all this. And we took like on this digital camera, like 1,000 photos. And the computer that we had, it just went kaput. We lost all the photos from that vacation. So as much as some people in life, and I'm definitely on the opposite side of that, they may say, oh, you're always taking pictures, videos, whatever. It means so much to me. And to be able to look back at that one day and be like, this was at this year, this month, with this part of my family, this uncle, this aunt, this grandma, grandpa, this, that. And it's such a privilege. So I wanted to be really intentional with, I literally hit up my whole entire family and I said, this is my schedule. This week, boom. This week, boom. This week, boom.
Nice.
Like, and then after it was done, even my uncle, it was 2 weeks ago, he said, and he's got a lot going on, and he said, he's like, thank you for asking, and thank you for making it happen, and thank you for setting it up. And like, because like we were at his house, so like he hosted. So I thanked him. He's like, no, thank you. Like, this wouldn't have happened without you. So it means a lot to me, especially as I'm getting older. You see loved ones, you see people, they're here one day, gone the next, and you gotta appreciate it. So that's been a big part of my summer.
You definitely check the box of, respect and love. Now you just got to get them to fear you. That's the goal.
Now you're gonna fear me. Listen, if you don't host, I ain't bringing the good food.
Well,
my uncle, he loves breadsticks. Russo's breadsticks. Loves breadsticks, man. They're freaking addictive.
That's it.
So if you don't play right, I ain't bringing the damn breadsticks.
That's the fear you need to instill. Well, fellas, we've been rolling, man. We've been rolling. Any last words?
Sure. I have. So this is a common theme on this show.
Hey, you're almost giving us a little nipple.
Am I giving it? This is my. I just got back from Greece. Look, this is a lot.
We might get flagged on fucking YouTube.
I get banned.
No one wants to see this hairy chest.
This isn't OnlyFans. It's for YouTube, man.
Bro, I'm trying to not do a nut slip over here.
Speaking about Europe, yeah, just having. Well, what I was saying earlier was. A common theme on the show is just kind of visualization. That's something that's been talked about countless times on the show in many different ways. So, and I do believe in visualization exercises. I'm big into that. I've been getting more and more into that, into making that routine. I've been pretty good about it.
Yeah.
And then all these books you read, like, all these books, Psycho-Cybernetics, or whether it's The Secret, or whether it's, a podcast you listen to, it's Decoding Success. Visualization seems to come up a lot. And if that seems to be an ongoing theme, and that is one of the secrets to achieving, then you'd be silly to not implement it into your life. So enough signs were there when I've been doing it over and over again. And I have 2, but I do have a vision board. And on that, one of those big pictures on the vision board was, I guess came to fruition, you could say. So for the first time ever this summer, a few weeks ago, I flew private, which was freaking awesome. Yeah, it was amazing. I've, Never have before. We got blessed. We got very lucky. My friend's a pilot, worked out this insane deal, which only he was able to do. No one else would be able to.
So
it was
sick.
ridiculous. And it was a half-hour flight. It wasn't very far. It was from Athens to Crete. And just the whole experience was special. In the waiting room, we checked in. You go to a different side of the airport, and literally we were talking with a supermodel, not a regular model, a supermodel that we didn't remember her name, but we seen her before. She was just hanging out, talking with us. We're like, whoa, what's this all about? He's like, you like flying private? I'm like, yes, I do. Like, this is amazing. And then going on there, just having champagne, looking out, and it's just me and my buddy just like shooting the shit, being on this plane. I was like, this is such a special experience. And you can't help but, even though it was a quick ride, being like, I was very deep in thought. And at one point, my buddy was talking to me. He's like, I'm going to shut up now. And I'm going to let you enjoy this. Because he goes, I could tell you're like really taking it in, which I did. And one of the things I thought of, I'm like, I can't believe I'm here. Yeah. I can't believe, but I can believe that I'm here. It was weird. It's like, I can't believe that I'm here. Wow. But I can believe that I'm here because it's something that I've actively wanted to do. And I put it on the vision board. Yeah. And I knew that one day I would. And I'm like, oh shit, today's that day. Mm-hmm. Like I actually made this happen, not in the way that I thought I would, but today's the day. And here I am. It just felt like a very much like I have arrived type moment. Yeah. And for me, why that was important for a multitude of reasons is when you have a goal that seems like, I don't want to say far-fetched, but like a distant goal, right?
A BHAG.
A BHAG? Never heard
Big, hairy ass goal.
Ah, then a BHAG then. Yeah.
Yep.
I guess it was one of those. If it's a BHAG and you see this goal that's so far in the distance, right? Like let's just say it's all the way across the room and that's the goal you want to achieve. And like one day I will get to that goal, right? Then you actually are there and you're experiencing it. If you want to do that goal again, it's not at the end of the room. It's within arm's reach. And you realize that goal that seems so distant, you can get there now. It's not like you have to stretch your arm all the way out. It's right there for the picking. You might have to stretch a little bit, but it's not across the room anymore. Yeah. And it was just one of those things. It just made everything seem possible. And you just know that everything is possible. So in that very quick ride, it really altered my mindset. I think that's the marking of any good vacation is when you go somewhere and you feel like, okay, I've changed a bit and hopefully for the better. But I took a lot of things from that trip that reinstilled in me, like, here, anything's possible. And sometimes you're like, yeah. But when you really buy into that and truly believe that, not just say it, you're like, damn, that's the truth. And having that direction of having that vision board or what could be in your journal, could be whatever it is, but knowing kind of your outcome of what you want and then achieving it, you're just like, all right, what's next?
This moment.
It's very powerful. Yeah. So that was a very cool experience.
I love that, summer. Man. That's super, super cool. Yeah. I mean, one thing we talk about often too is just like how our goals or our dreams or whatever, they might not actualize how we envision them. So like, just having the openness to how it comes about. And it sounds like that's what you did too, right?
For sure. In addition to other things, like once that kind of got unlocked, it's like unlocking a level in your mind, like new level unlocked, new boss unlocked. Yeah. It was almost like a video game where you're like going on to the next stage. And I just feel like I unlocked some things in just having that experience. And that's one of the big takeaways that I got from this as well, is just like kind of leaning into like the experiences, like even if I'm like, this particular thing might be a little out of my budget, but if I'm going to in turn become an improved person, or it will shift my mindset or open my horizons, like we always say, the money will come back, the experience won't. Yeah. So
you just embodied visualization like to a T.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, to a T, bro. Like think about how many people do something and they're grateful for it because it's in the past. I did this, so I'm grateful for it. But you were grateful for something that you haven't done yet. It was on your vision board. You wanted to do this. Then you're actually in the moment and you're just like, you're struck in that moment and you're like, I'm grateful for what's happening now. That's visualization.
Yeah.
Like, you did it.
Huh. I didn't think of it like that, but yeah. It's a good way to describe it. And also, as always, can't leave my boys hanging. I got you guys.
I knew they were fucking coming.
Of course.
Bro, I still got the ones on.
I noticed.
I still got the ones on from.
I got you guys.
I love fucking new ones.
Of course.
Wow,
A little
black
too.
and blue. How you
Let's
doing?
switch it up. Every year, some a little different.
Yeah.
I did it on the last day of my trip in Chios, and I couldn't come back to the U.S. empty-handed without giving you guys these.
Yeah, it's always
That was part of the motivation.
Bro.
I'm not kidding you. So yeah.
It's always appreciated,
Of
man.
course.
Thank you so much for
My pleasure.
this. Well, fellas, had a blast with you guys as always. No card game this time, but I mean, we had enough to talk about.
We are the card game.
Oh, yeah.
No card game was
forever.
necessary. No card game was necessary. But fellas, appreciate it as always. Thank you so much for joining us. For the individual looking through the screen or listening to us, I just wanted to say thank you so much for you taking the time to be here, right? And to opening your mind and opening your heart to the reasons as to why you might be here. And maybe you don't even need to know the reasons. Maybe you just needed a little entertainment. Maybe you landed on a golden nugget, such as, I mean, the whole dining versus eating thing was like, dude, wisdom, like absolute wisdom. Maybe it was the fear, love, and respect part of the conversation. Regardless of what it was, you're here, and I want to thank you for your presence and your attention and all of that through the hour and 15 plus minutes we've probably been rolling at this point. On that note, you are here for that long, so I'm going to put it on your heart and on your mind to make sure you're sharing this episode. There are definitely people that you're in proximity to that need to hear this, but might not have access to it because you haven't shared it with them yet. So you have the opportunity today to be a beacon of light in someone else's life by simply clicking the share button or the 3 little dots and putting it in your group chat or in an email or even talking about it at the water cooler, whatever it may be, whatever feels good to you, do it. Absolutely do it. As mentioned earlier, right? Like merch drop coming soon, fall 2024, have a really fire hat that I'm super excited to drop, clothes, all of that. Keep in mind, if you are in the New York City metropolitan area, maybe that means Connecticut and New Jersey too, because I know you guys like to throw yourself into our bunch. Event coming soon. I am putting it out there. Until next time, everyone, be blessed. Peace.